So, Birth by Sleep 0.2. Don't worry, if you've never heard of this game before, then you are definitely not alone. Actually, this game is probably the most recent console game in the series before Kingdom Hearts 3. I have no idea about where those mobile and Facebook games fall on the release schedule, but they're probably one or two in between this game and Kingdom Hearts 3 at this point. Since Birth by Sleep ended with Aqua sending herself into the void in order to, unfortunately, end up saving Xehanort and allowing his plan to continue, the question that you have to ask yourself is, did that story of Aqua's journey into the void need to be told? This game came packaged with the Kingdom Hearts 2.8 collection, which had the console entry for 3D and back covers cutscenes in it. So let's just say it wasn't the most stimulating compilation ever put forward to Sony, and that's probably why you've never heard of this game. Fragmentary Passage chronicles the lost journey of Aqua, now stripped of most of her emotions because typical Darklands explanation, and now has to go through a bunch of nightmare-esque areas in order to get through the Darklands. She encounters never-before-seen powers of the Heartless, confronts her inner demons, and wonders if her self-sacrifice was all worth it in the end, and if she can revive her friends if she can get out of there. And if that description I made up for BBS's sequel sounded promising, again, don't worry everybody about that, because Square Enix managed to screw it up royally. In reality, Birth by Sleep 0.2 is a bunch of disconnected areas strung together using that same typical, the Darklands can fuel itself off of your nightmares, so it's building areas and levels based off of where you have experienced and visited, and then corrupting them excuse to have all this crazy stuff be in the game without the writers having to worry about a good reason why it's there in the first place. Hand in hand with the random levels of the game are also the random puzzles and combat encounters where you'll keep progressing in the level until Aqua hits a roadblock, and then we'll have to solve a connect the dots puzzle or key hunting quest in order to continue. All drawn from her own subconscious and memories, testing her resolve as the darkness threatens to devour her with constant random enemy mobs. To be honest, Fragmentary Puzzle does have a couple decent story bits and puzzles here and there to make up for an entire game of nonsense, but since there is no world building and no understanding of what Aqua's quest is supposed to be other than move forward, there really is no point in being interested in anything that's going on here. It could have been interesting that Aqua was facing her inner demons, or wondering if her friends ended up surviving without her, but the issue is that Aqua forgets about her despair immediately when she has to fight things and solve puzzles, so all these character arc moments are just a bunch of random emotional moments sprinkled throughout the game that only barely try to connect to each other, much less the moment that's actually happening when she's feeling sad. On the flip side, the combat and the actual fighting in this game is actually pretty fun, even though the fights themselves are boring as hell, since you're fighting regular Heartless enemies from the previous games 85% of the time, and the unique enemies that Fragmentary Passage has are pretty lazy copy-paste or just rearrangements of the enemies that are already there in the first place, like the not infamous Demon Tower. This is modern Kingdom Hearts, so most of the introduced mechanics such as the shot lock and the Kingdom Hearts 2 combo sets have been included for Aqua, so playing as her is actually pretty cool, since she's so loaded down with options that she's actually quite powerful in the end, unlike her ending in the actual Birth by Sleep game, which was pretty sad since she was the magician character. However, here, she does get the power-up from not having her powers removed from the original game, so she can end up easily dispatching regular enemies and facing down whatever bosses this game actually has. The boss fights, again, are actually pretty decent by themselves, and they have good lasting health to make them formidable without being annoying, and they do come with some decent gimmicks to keep the end of section highlights interesting enough to keep going through this game. The graphics in this game are probably the only reason to actually play it, since everything in this game is actually drawn pretty phenomenally. The Land of Darkness is so well drawn and full of color and detail that it makes the entire runtime of this game just pop off of the screen. At the very least, Square Enix's team who made this really put the effort in making this game looking as good as it can with the more modern engine they have it running on, and easily puts this game side to side by the art direction to the eventual release of Kingdom Hearts 3. However, noticing that part of this game is what led to why Fragmentary Passage feels like such an unnecessary game to fans, or really just anybody interested in hack and slashes. And that is the idea that at the end of the day, Fragmentary Passage is the Dead Space Ignition of the Kingdom Hearts series. A cheap game made with a recognizable IP or character, done so just to advertise the next upcoming release that actually matters. In this case, Fragmentary Passage was built specifically to hype up Kingdom Hearts 3. You can easily tell that's the case by what actually happens in Fragmentary Passage. Aqua goes through all the nonsensically laid out areas and the combat nightmares, only to be greeted by the end by the Darklands beach. A final, giant, heartless defeat, and the game ending with Aqua vowing to stay in the Darklands forever, and fight the darkness in order to help her friends from behind enemy lines. Aqua didn't actually accomplish anything, nothing about her changed, she didn't really care that she had to fight her inner demons by the end. The only thing that happens in this game is that Aqua goes from point A in Darkland to point B. Then, just to seal the deal about why all of this is a giant advertisement, after the credits, if you do stick around for that long, you then get to enjoy a 10-minute cutscene literally serving as Kingdom Hearts 3 advertisement. And it's going to show you what you can expect in the next game in the series. It's just a random snippet of Sora, Donald, and Goofy getting the next bit of plot, and then the game hits the menu, and then it's actually over. None of this cutscene really has any connection to Aqua herself, so it's just so weird that it's here in the first place. The game is so pathetically short, at somewhere between 2 and 3 hours of actual stuff to do, and for some reason, this game also has EX boss fights on harder difficulties for trophies and some additional weapons maybe. That ultimately, Fragmentary Passage is a complete waste of time, and is the exact hack and slash copy of Dead Space Ignition. The only real difference beyond genre is that Fragmentary Passage looks a hell of a lot nicer. It's the same length as Ignition, has the same sort of content from the real game just to make you think it's a real edition before you hit the Demon Tide and then get slapped by the credits. This, along with back cover, means that the only real game in this compilation disc was Dream Drop Distance. So that's fun to have found out, by the way, after buying this thing. Fragmentary Passage feels like a game that was made to be a waste of everyone's time. A complete failure of an addition to an already anemic compilation for the customer, and also to all the development that went into it. Like, did Kingdom Hearts 3 take so long to make by itself that they actually needed to make and produce this mini game just to remind people that Square Enix was still working on it? It's not like Kingdom Hearts 3 needed more hype after being delayed for this long, and the fact that it already had a sizable niche market anyway that wouldn't have forgot its existence. Plus, with the absolute nothing that Aqua accomplishes in the game itself, there's not even like a side story product reason to get this game for the fans that have to know everything about everything in a franchise in order to get the most out of it. You could skip this game completely and have no value cut out of the Kingdom Hearts experience overall. If you have an afternoon free after you bought Kingdom Hearts 2.8 to have 3D on the PlayStation, then maybe it's worth it towards you. But otherwise, the only reason to buy 2.8 is to have that easy access to play and record Kingdom Hearts 3D, which is a substantial entry. Fragmentary Passage does nothing new to justify its existence or the time and the people who played it, especially now that Kingdom Hearts 3 is now on the market. So yeah, just skip it, and you have saved yourself 2.5 hours of absolutely nothing happening. Maybe you can spend that to watch 6 episodes of Seinfeld instead. I'll finish the video as always with a final scoreboard to shore up all of my ideas. And wish you all out there a victory for gamers. Hopefully Mickey and company do come around soon so that we can all escape this hell together. Have a nice night, everybody.